When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hey guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fan fiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future updates that I post on my community tab frequently. Now let's continue where we last left off in our Mortal Kombat story. Molina and Izuku entered the tunnel on the other side of the chamber after dealing with the threat. I gotta say, Princess, this mine is very complex. I see several pathways we could venture into. As they came up to a fork in the tunnel leading to 5 different directions, only thing illuminating the tunnel is the lanterns they both hold. Not surprising, this is one of the biggest mines we have on Outworld that we know of. Just be careful, there's probably more in these mines than those nasty worms. This is the perfect environment for the undead. Dark and damp. Wait, you mean zombies? If you mean walking dead corpses, yes, zombies. Apparently some of the historians believe this mountain holds a very old ruin or some sort of civilization that went extinct a long time ago. Not really sure. Father doesn't take historians very highly. Mine, a cave, and a ruin, all wrapped in one neat little package. This is becoming quite the adventure. How excited you look is very unnerving. Your lack of adventure is disheartening, Princess. Look at it my way. I'm from an entire different realm. And this place is clearly something you don't find in my realm. We do have mines, but nothing like these creatures. We have movies about them. Walking corpses, demons, ancient monsters emerging from the ocean from a deep slumber. I find this so fascinating. Well, I suppose you do have a point. But you could look less excited. Semantics, Princess. Semantics. Izuku was about to continue his banter with his female companion. He was interrupted by the shadows straight ahead of him from one of the pathways. As they both followed the path, taking the middle path of the many ways they could have gone. Pathway finally led to a large pitch black chamber with no light visible outside of their lanterns they are now currently holding. This looks like a trap, Princess. Be on guard. I smell several different scents. I can't pinpoint their numbers though. Izuku and Molina are back to back. Molina attached her lantern to her waist and pulled out 2 of her sai. Izuku placed a lantern on his hip as well, as black substance cover both of his hands and forearm. as black claws form into his hands in mere seconds, changing his bone structure. While at it, infested dead to cotton warrior rush forward, targeting Molina. She was forced to duck under the arm blade and maneuver her body into a kick and kick the dead body in the chest as it goes flying backwards back into the shadows. You can't pinpoint their numbers. This is going to be very irritating. Izuku was forced to breathe fire out of his mouth by the two incoming and worm-infested Takadan warriors, vaporizing them on the spot. Because of the large amount of fire coming out of his mouth, he saw a brief portion of their numbers in the chamber on his side of the room, as he saw about 8 worm-infested Takadan warriors for a couple of seconds as his fire dissipated. I saw about 8 of them on my side for a brief second, Princess. If you could use your fire to, eliminate all this darkness, that would be pretty helpful. Considered you breathe fire like a dragon. Yeah, Princess, give me a second. As several green fireballs come into existence, scattered all around the room, as they could see the large chamber as it's surrounded by the infested Takadan warriors that has their bodies hijacked by these worms that live in this mine. I think we found a good portion of them, Princess. They seem to be coming from many holes in the ground. That's troubling. Izuku looked up to the ceiling. It seemed to be very unstable, as he looked across the room to see their exit out of the chamber. Only problem, there's about 20 to 30 Takadan corpses blocking their pathway. Well, good news, I found the way out. Bad news, we're going to have to go through a large number of these worms that would very much like to rip our flesh from our bodies. But I do have an idea, but it's a bit crazy. More like insane, really. How crazy? As she gave Izuku a suspicious look. Clearly need to get to the other side of the chamber. I could cause a cave-in, and resulting the chamber to collapse on itself. The only problem is we need to get to the other side before the entire ceiling cave in on us. Molina growled. I don't see a whole lot of options here. We either go through that tunnel or any of these holes in the ground where they're coming from, and I would rather not do that if I could help it. I'm already not liking his mind very much. Very well, Princess. I don't know how this is going to play out. This might get a little rough. I just need to get to the middle of the chamber. As Izuku went into a run, Molina's running right behind Izuku and jump onto his back, then jump onto his shoulders, then jump once again to become airborne in the air. As she portaled away into a kick, with her opposite leg, she pushed off of the body into a flip as her feet land into Izuku's palms of his hand, as she was forced forward using Izuku's hands like a springboard to go flying even higher in the air. Large group of worm-infested dead Takadan warriors approach. When they got close enough to Izuku, Izuku saw several incoming arm blades slashing towards his direction as he uses claws to cut right through their arm blades, while Molina portaled away and kicked her opponent in the chest. She finally landed right behind Izuku and jumped from his back to become airborne once again, as her sides became glowing purple as she tossed her weapons towards two infested Picatin warriors. Before she could descend back to the ground, she portaled away and reappeared in a kick towards another Picatin warrior. When she finally landed from her kick, she used her opposite leg once again to springboard off of a chest of one of the dead Picatin warriors, as she went into a flip in midair, right behind Izuku. Izuku shot out a large amount of green electricity towards the Picatin warriors that have Molina's size plunge into their bodies. Izuku used his partner weapons as a conduit for his electricity, as electricity spread to several Picatin warriors, as you could hear loud screeching noise coming from inside their bodies because of the warmth and in physical pain from being shocked by such a high voltage of electricity coursing through their bodies. The remaining Picatin warriors didn't get caught in the burst of electricity that Izuku shot out of his hands. Group of Picatin warriors charged towards Izuku. Izuku picked up Molina, sorry princess, as he tossed her in the middle of the air, as he morphed his claws back into hands, and began to strike any incoming Picatin warriors. Meanwhile, Molina went into a flip and landed on all fours, as Molina bolted forward in a run. As she lifted herself, she became airborne after jumping off the ground with her hands when she did a somersault and jumped into a mid-flip in the middle of the air and began hopping off of Picatin's warrior shoulders to get to the other side of the chamber. Izuku by this time clotheslined an incoming Picatin that came charging towards him, trying to flank him. Izuku activated his telekinesis to rip the two Sai out of the bodies of the two Picatin warriors that the weapons were plunged into, and began making them fly all around the room, going through several heads of the Picatin warriors, then redirecting them towards Molina, as she simply caught them in midair while jumping off Picatin warriors' shoulders, trying to get to the other side of the room. Izuku saw for a brief moment that he wasn't being attacked. He charged up electricity in his hands, as you can see his eyes begin glowing bright green, as green sparks begins to emanate from his arms to his hands, as a large green lightning bolt appeared, as Izuku grabbed onto the bolt of electricity and threw it to the ceiling of the chamber, compromising it. The ceiling of the chamber begins to crack as rock debris begins to fall. Izuku realized the rate of the chamber collapsing, he's not going to make it before it finally collapsed on itself. He had to make a rash decision. Hurry up, you're not going to make it. We'll meet up later. Keep going. Izuku redoubled his efforts and dodged several falling rock debris and made it to one of the holes that's on the ground as he unleashed his fire breath out of his mouth in the hole to kill any animate threats coming from that tunnel, and hopped into the medium-sized hole on the ground and slid down. As he could hear the sounds of rock coming down, Molina was forced to continue as she made her way through the tunnel finally, and leaving the collapsed chamber, and continued her pathway while Izuku is sliding down the hole. Izuku finally got to the end of the sliding tunnel into a large body of water. As he dove upwards after emerging into the water to the surface, Izuku swam to the nearest body of land as he pulled himself up and got to his feet and began to look around the area as he sees several destroyed buildings in the area of an old ruin. As he found something he saw a structure on top of a cliff that's in the mountain. He found that odd, but he can't worry about that for right now. Well, I believe I found the ruin. That's interesting. Well, isn't that lovely? As Izuku can see several undead bodies begin to move and get up to their feet when they felt his presence. Well, she did say I would come across some undead. When Izuku examined his entire surroundings, all he could see is the water coming out of several holes decorated all around the walls of the huge area he found himself in, as the ruin is on top of a cliff. The whole area is surrounded by these undead that are rising from the ground like they just woke up from a long slumber when they felt his presence or noticed him. Izuku turned his attention towards the undead creatures to see an old ancient weapon in their hands moving forward towards his direction. Izuku slowly suspects there's probably more waiting for him the closer he gets to the ruins on top of the cliffside. The only way he could see to get to that ruin was a large stone stairs further down ahead of him. That's clearly infested with the undead blocking his path. Izuku charged towards the undead while he had his right arm extended towards the body of water. As the water shoots from its source into his hands, forming a large water scythe infused with electricity, as he swung towards the first undead, chopping the entire body in half by swinging downwards. Izuku swung his water scythe virtually, cutting right through a jumping undead that launched at him, chopping it in half. Izuku noticed the rusted, broken weapon on the ground as he kicked it up in the air, then kicked it once again. As the weapon went shoot forward, piercing right through the chest of one of the undead, ahead of him. When the undead finally surrounded Izuku, he shut out a shockwave of psychic energy as all the undead surrounding him get tossed backwards in all different directions, several of them falling into the water or hitting the wall of the cliff. Suddenly, you see the water scythe in Izuku's hand slowly turning to ice as Izuku continued to charge forward by swinging his scythe around, cutting through several undead, trying to stop his way, as he finally made his way to the huge stone stairs ahead of him. Izuku noticed his body doesn't feel right. He's using too much of his quirks, one after another. It won't affect his ability, it won't affect his combat ability, but it is making his power fidgety. Making the water scythe into a ice scythe utilize several different quirks all at once. Is using all the different abilities he has been since his time in the mine, now in deeper into the mountain. The drawbacks are finally kicking him in the ass. If Izuku pushes quirk too far, he won't be able to use any of the abilities for several hours. All you could hear from the long green-haired boy is a growl, realizing what position he found himself in. But regardless, he pushed forward. Izuku grabbed the ice scythe with both hands and slammed the blade into the ground. The floor immediately began to freeze over towards the incoming undead as spikes shoot out from the ice out of the ground, impelling several of the undead as a large ice scythe shatter into ice particles after his attack was completed. Izuku began to walk forward and picked up a rusted and broken weapon that he could find as he grabbed onto it with a firm grip in one hand, as he picked up a short sword and continued to walk forward, passing all the impaled undead, restless spirits that are trying to still grab him even though they're impaled. Izuku gave his sword a couple practice swings. It's not the best condition, but it's not the worst. This will do. Seems like I have some company, as several undead came flying from the cliffside in front of him, in front of the stone steps, wielding ancient battle axes, and began to charge forward. Izuku did the same. When he was close enough, he ducked under a axe swing, then spun around and swung his blade into one of the waists of the undead. He was forced to jump backwards from an incoming battle axe, as the battle axe slammed into the ground where Izuku once stood. Izuku saw his chance to end one of the undead while it's trying to get his axe out of the ground, as he launched forward in a sword stab, piercing right through the skull of the undead. Izuku immediately turned around to block an incoming swung from a battle axe, making them slide backwards from the force of the swing, from the undead creature. You're pretty strong for a walking corpse. Interesting. Very interesting. I would love to open you up to see how you tick. But work before play. As Izuku blocked another battle axe swung, as their blades collide with each other, as they're grinding for dominance with their physical strength, Izuku tilts his blade just enough as he used a good portion of his strength to swing upwards, making the undead unbalance from such a large weapon. Izuku swung his blade downwards, chopping the undead in half, as the two pieces of the corpse fall down in opposite sides. As it drops its weapon. Woo! That was quite a workout. These undead bastards are intent to kill me. I really hate being the popular one. Oh, I'm talking to myself. Great. Besides, I'm only dealing with undead, not humongous spiders. That's always a plus. The things are creepy as hell. Izuku simply caught the undead are impaled with green fire from a single thought. As all the corpses, sort of undead, begin to burst into flame, as he walked past all the burning corpses and walked closer to the huge stone steps, and finally began to ascend up the stairs. It about took him about almost an hour to fully get up to it, to the end of the stairs. He wasn't sure what to expect when he finally got to the top, but all he could see is a very old ancient city. Ruins he saw on the cliffside is in the distance, but unfortunately, the city is filled with the undead. Izuku was broken out of his musings, as he had to jump sideways from an incoming arrow being shot down, as Izuku can see several undead archers on the roof of the buildings of this ancient, forgotten city. Izuku had to dodge several arrows that were launched by the undead, as Izuku had to use his speed to dodge around the arrows. Izuku had to dodge, once again, more undead, as he had to dodge long spear thrust that were flanking him on all sides. Well, I was definitely right. There's a lot more of you here. Let's skip the banter. I highly doubt you have the intelligence to hold a decent conversation. Let's get back to the fun part. The fighting. Izuku threw his sword into one of the undead's chest, then proceeded to slam his fist into the ground, making a shockwave and rush forward, slam his fist across one of the undead's face, as the undead goes rocketing backwards into several buildings, alerting more undead to his presence, as Izuku could clearly hear footsteps running towards him. Izuku saw several medium-sized boulders flying in the air from being shot off from catapults. Izuku can't see where they're coming from. They're all placed in certain sections of the city, in case of a siege. And a lot of the buildings are blocking parts of the city. As the undead are loading another barrage of catapults with medium-sized boulders in the distance, Ezekiel heard a lot of sounds of footsteps coming from the city towards his direction. Ezekiel was forced to shoot out fire out of his mouth. That engulfed the entire street. While they were distracted by the green fire, Ezekiel jumped in one of the buildings and leaned against the wall as he can hear several undead passing through the window. I hope you're having an easier time than me, Princess. We cut to Molina, still running through the mine tunnels, dodging her pursuers. Molina saw several worm-infested Takadan warriors straight ahead of her as she hopped over their shoulders, using her hands, and slammed her sai in the back of the head, destroying the brain, where the worms like to hide. But before she could think on it even further, a worm burst out of the back of the head of one of the Takadan warriors towards Molina. She threw her weapon, pinning the worm against the wall, as she pulled out her other scythe and plunged it into the worm once again. When she saw the worm is dead, she pulled out her weapon and put it back in her holster and began running once again into a tunnel. After a few turns, she finally ran into another chamber. As she examined the chamber, only thing in the chamber to get to the other side was a very unstable wooden bridge. Underneath the bridge is steaming hot lava. When Molina got halfway through the bridge, behind her she noticed several worm-infested Takadan warriors start to give chase. She doubled her efforts to get to the other side. The moment she got to the other side of the bridge, she cut the rope, connecting the bridge to the other side, as she saw several of the worms-infested Takadan warriors fall into the lava. As she turned her head to enter a new mine tunnel, she found herself in front of, as she followed it, until she spotted some sort of stone tunnel that clearly wasn't originally a part of the mine. Like someone accidentally broke into it when they made this tunnel. As she could clearly see in the gap, it's big enough for her to slip through. Molina immediately went through the crack. When she got to the other side, she checked her lantern to see if it's damaged in any way. Luckily for her, it wasn't damaged at all. There hasn't been any damage to the lamp since she entered this mine. She immediately unhooked the lantern and used the light to light up her pathway through a man-made stone hallway, lighting torches as she goes to get some extra light, just in case. She finally got to enter the hallway. She saw a big metal door. When she tried to open it, it was locked shut. As Molina is Takadan and Tamaranian, she ripped the door off its hinges and threw it behind her and walked through. She found herself in some sort of ancient ritual chamber. Molina began lighting up all the torches, revealing a very ancient carving all around the walls of this chamber. She didn't recognize most of it. Molina couldn't. Well, Molina is completely annoyed. Well, sorry, try again. Molina completely ignore the carving on the walls. She's more concerned on finding Izuku. She saw another metal door and opened it up as she entered another hallway of the pierced stone structure. It didn't take her long to come across more threats, only different compared to the other ones that were in the mines. These were the walking undead, wielding very ancient and rusty weaponry and armor. From swords, spears to battle axes, battle hammers, and bow and arrows. Once she found the opening in their patrol, she sneaked past them into the only pathway that isn't filled with undead. The moment she got into one of the stone hallways, she found the exit, and she found herself in a very ancient old city filled with undead. She immediately dove into a small ancient home made of black rock to strategize her next move. After composing herself, she tried to pinpoint if Izuku's in here. She could pick up Izuku's scent somewhere in this ancient city, but she can't pinpoint his direct location. There's too many other scents interfering with her sense of smell because of her because of her superior Ticatan instincts. Molina saw some cannonbolts nearby shoot shoot large rocks into the city. As we pan to Izuku, still hiding in one of the stone houses. Izuku peeked his head from the window as he saw a large shadow as he looked up into the sky. As he saw an incoming boulder heading towards his direction, Izuku jumped out of the window into a roll as the boulder smashed right through the stone house. Guess they found me. As Izuku rolled to his feet, threw out his fists from an incoming boulder, smashing it into little pieces. As part of the city engulfing a shockwave from Izuku's powerful punch. Izuku jumped to the left, then jumped to the right as undead warriors jump down and plunge their spears into the ground. You guys are really persistent, I'll give you that. As he kicked one of the undead, trying to yank his spear out of the ground, Izuku immediately slammed his fist into another undead, trying to get the spear out of the ground. As he went skidding across the ground like a rag doll, Izuku followed up his attack with a powerful breath of fire, engulfing the entire street once again. As you can see smoke coming from Izuku's mouth like a dragon when he stopped breathing fire. As several undead come rushing out of the fire from the street, still not even showing any discomfort from being set on fire, charging Izuku. Izuku created a small green fireball in his hand as he tossed it up in the air. As he kicked it with his foot, as he went flying and hit one of the undead that was charging him, vaporizing it to ash when the fireball made contact with the skin, or what skin they have. As he kicked another one and hit another undead in the face, vaporizing that one as well. Izuku didn't have enough time to take another fireball, or kick another fireball, he was forced to dodge to the left as a humongous great sword slammed into the ground, making a clink noise from the contact. Well, that's an impressive large sword you have there, my zombie friend. Izuku kicked the sword upwards, making the undead lose his grip of the sword. As the sword spin, when Izuku kicked the sword into a spin in the middle of the air, as he caught it in both of his hands and slammed it down, chopping the undead in half. Dropping the great sword, he finally ventured into another part of the city, paying close attention to his surroundings from surprise ambushes. Suddenly a arrow hit the ground right in front of him, right in front of his foot. Izuku looked up in the sky to see several arrows flying downwards towards his direction. Izuku went into a run while the arrows were raining down upon him, as he's dodging every arrow that's coming down onto the street with great. As Izuku begins to dodge each arrow, making after images of himself with great agility. While running, Izuku punched the tip of one of the arrows, forcing the arrows to go into a spin in the middle of the air. Izuku simply kicked the arrow as the arrow went flying backwards into one of the archers in the distance. As the archer went flying backwards from the force of the arrow, hitting him in the head. Several undead wielding spears come out of the buildings straight ahead of him, and some from behind him, preventing him from escaping. Izuku maneuvered his body into a slide as his feet skid across the ground, stopping his momentum from moving any further, as he noticed the two undead coming out of the buildings from in front of him and two in the back, so there's four in total, all wielding spears and shields. Izuku had to lean to the side to dodge an incoming spear stab. Izuku knows these weapons are not capable of hurting him, but at the same time, he doesn't want to ruin his shirt. He likes this shirt. It's one of his favorites. Izuku continued to dodge wave after wave of spear being thrust towards him. Izuku was about to act until one of the undead slammed his shield into Izuku's face, dazing Izuku for a brief second. That brief second is all the undead needed, as they launch all their spears at Izuku at the same time when they surrounded him. At the same time, Izuku jumped up in the middle of the air instantly as he landed on top of the spears and kicked one of the undead in the face as he goes flying into a old wagon. Izuku did a spin kick to another undead from behind him and sent him flying backwards into one of the windows of one of the buildings. Izuku immediately jumped backwards into a flip and land on his feet, then slam his fist into the ground, making a small shockwave. Molina jumped downwards from the roof of one of the buildings and slammed both her sai into the head of one of the undead, forcing the undead to hit the ground. As she yanked her weapon and twirled it around her fingers and slid them back in their holster that attached to her leg, as she made her way over to Izuku. "Found you. You seem to be having fun." Judging by several of the destroyed buildings in this ancient city, especially one of the streets is currently on fire. I take it that's your handiwork? After all, not a lot of people wield green fire, like they're a freaking dragon. But regardless, I'm glad I found you. You seem to be unarmed. Oh, I'm touched. You do care. Get ahead of yourself. I don't care about you. Not one bit. But luckily, I need you to... I need you. This mission would be difficult if it was just me alone. I need you for this mission. That's it. You're a very competent warrior, but that's all. Zuko gave Molina a smirk. What's with that smirk from your face? Sorry, wipe that smirk from your face. Let's get going, Izuku. As Molina has a small smile under her mask, as they begin to venture through the city to get to the old ruin of a temple in the distance. Zuko and Molina heard loud footsteps. They both immediately dove in one of the buildings as a humongous undead walked down the street, wielding a giant giant undead, about the size of an entire building. Only thing Izuku could see is the humongous leg passing by the window, as Izuku could hear a large scraping noise as the giant undead walking as Izuku briefly saw a humongous blade being dragged across the ground of the floor of the street, covered in blood stains. Izuku's instincts kick in as Izuku grabbed onto Molina and dropped to the floor as a humongous blade sliced through the building they're currently in. Izuku got up immediately afterwards, before the upper part of the building began to fall on top of them, as he smashed through a wall, as Izuku punched wall after wall, going through different buildings, as the buildings behind them begin to be crushed by the humongous blade that the humongous undead is carrying through the city. Molina wasn't too far away from Izuku until they both found themselves in a wide open area in the middle of the city, with the only thing near them is a large fountain filled with water. The fountain itself is connected to some sort of ravine. So the fountain is continue to get access to water. Izuku was surprised this old city was connected to a water source, but he couldn't think about that any further. Izuku was about to move as he sees a humongous spider drop down above them. The humongous spider just walked over them, not even noticed them on the ground. As the humongous spider begins fighting against the huge, giant undead, completely ignoring Izuku and Molina. Let's get out of here before that spider turns its attention towards us. Agreed. 20 minutes of running, they finally approached the large ruin temple. As you can see the spider in the distance, fighting the huge undead, battling each other in the distance. The moment they stopped, they immediately could tell that the place is filled with spider webs. Izuku can see several different types of skeletons in the web. I guess we found the missing mine workers, as there are several skeletons with mine clothes on, attached to the wall with web, once they enter the temple. Izuku even noticed several Takadan skeletons on the floor, like something ate their skin off of their bones. Izuku examined the room. He noticed a huge metal door that has no keyhole or any handle to open it up. And in the middle of the room, there are a large altar with several torches in a circle. Each torch has some sort of symbol engraved into it. As the torch itself is metal, as Izuku stepped closer, as he could smell he could smell the scent of oil in them, so they could be lit. What do you think these torches are? And especially with the symbols on them. It's very suspicious. Considering there's no way to open that door manually. I agree. I don't recognize these symbols at all. But I do notice some of the symbols. But I do notice a few of them that are displayed all across the walls over there in this room. The webbing's in the way the webbings are in the way. That's decorated all around the walls. Would you be a dear and fix that for me? Already on it, princess. Izuku begins to shoot fire out of his hands as the webbings burn off, revealing carvings, becoming fully visible. That's decorated all around the walls. Let's take a look, shall we? The dialect is very old, but deciphering it is going to be a problem. I don't recognize a lot of these, but I should be able to I should be able to decipher it partially. It's just going to take me some time. Sure thing, princess. As Izuku leaned against the wall, watching Molina do her thing, and remain quiet, so he doesn't interrupt her. 30 minutes later, Molina turned her attention towards the torches. I think I understand now. According to what I was able to decipher, we're supposed to light certain torches in order by symbol to unlock that door over there. But we need to get a single but if we get a single torch wrong, the spikes on top of the ceiling will descend down, crushing us to death. That the moment you light the wrong torch. And the moment you light the first torch, the doorway we came in will shut tight, leaving no way out. I take it you know the order? Not exactly. I have an idea what order they need to be in, but I'm not 100% on that. This can go very well or horribly wrong. Let's get started, shall we? Like the one to the right with the red symbol. As Izuku lit the torch, as the doorway that they came in sealed off. Next one is the blue one, to the far left, nearest me. Izuku did what he was told, while lighting with his green fire. And if I'm right, we just have one more to light up. Light the torch with the black symbol that's nearest to you. Izuku lit the last torch Molina and Izuku braced themselves, just in case if the spikes begin to descend down, or drop on them, they're not totally sure. Izuku could probably destroy them pretty easily, but he's not going to panic just yet. Instead of the spikes slowly descending down upon them, the big the big stone door slowly opened upwards, revealing a pathway with still cold air of wind. Izuku can smell the air. It's very stale coming from the hallway, like death. You don't think there's a huge spider in there, do you? Most likely. Great. I hate spiders. I don't know why you're so worried. I highly doubt any creature in this place could possibly hurt you. I've what I've seen of you, you have pretty tough skin. I'm not worried about being harmed. They're just creepy. Let's get this over with. As they both walk into the narrow pathway further into the ruined temple. I find it odd that you're so creeped out by spiders, but you're totally fine with the walking undead. It's their beady eyes. I despise spiders, bugs in general. But the worms in the mind bypass my disgust. Was intrigued. Don't get me wrong. I know spiders serve a purpose, but that doesn't change the fact that I find them unnerving. Plus, I find zombies awesome. Just fell in love with the whole zombie genre when it came to movies. The walking undead, walking and eating civilians as they go. I find it amusing. And zombies has always been a fascination of mine when I was younger. I've heard you use the term zombie several times. What type of undead are zombies? They're reanimated corpses that pretty much eat brains and any flesh they get their hands on. They're either created by voodoo curse or some sort of they're very sorry voodoo curse or some sort of virus. It's pretty good entertainment. Zombies in my realm don't exist. It's a shame, really. It would spice things up. The closest thing we have to zombies in my realm are the Nomus in that crazy doctor's creations. In the movies, when it comes to zombies, they just have to bite you to turn you into one. What you describe as a zombie is preposterous. Undead can't create more undead just by biting them like that. That's that's just not how they work. Human in my realms are very creative when they want to be. They followed the stone hallway into a medium-sized chamber, stopping their discussion with each other. The first thing Izuku noticed, the room is filled with large, round mirrors scattered all around the room. The chamber, well, give me a second, guys. Some sort of pedestal, so the mirrors can't be turned around in any direction. Izuku looked up onto the ceiling to see a large hanging crystal with chains. It has some sort of engravings carved into it. As the crystal itself is giving off a artificial light, beaming down to one of the mirrors. As light reflects from the mirrors, hitting the wall randomly, not really doing anything. Izuku looked across the room to see the only door leading to the second level of the room, leading to the other side of the room, basically the other side, as it's a humongous stone gate that has some sort of large crystal in the middle of it. Izuku's knobs are churning in his head, trying to figure out the strange puzzle that he found himself in. Whoever constructed this temple sure likes puzzles. Can you just smash that stone gate? It doesn't look very thick when it comes to your physical strength. And where is the fun in that, princess? I like puzzles, especially the deadly kind. Deadly, they're just mirrors. Harmless. Don't be deceived, princess. Ever since we entered this temple, there's been puzzles after puzzles. Given we've only came across two so far. I expect the temple is meant to test their disciples. To what end? I'm not entirely sure. I have no doubt if we pass this little puzzle, we'll find another one. There must be a reason why they planned this out like this. And I plan to find out. This is going to take some time. I need to examine the entire room, including the mirrors. They seem to be placed on purpose, all scattered around the room, on both levels, to each other. And the mirrors can't be accessible to any mirror. There's several things blocking their pathway. So the light can't easily be connected to another mirror. This is going to be interesting. Both levels that the mirrors are placed on are not easily accessible by this artificial light. I'll take care of this one though. You got the first one, princess. This one's all mine. As Izuku cracks all his knuckles all at once, as he takes a closer look, as that's where we're gonna stop our story off. Hope you guys have a good night and day. Enjoy my time zone. I'll catch you in the next video.